get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, y'all know what I'm drinking on. I'm drinking on my Crown Royal vanilla mixed with Dr. Pepper cream soda. And tonight's episode is sponsored by Joe Shakinab and Shakinab.com. Go visit Shakinab.com for services, monthly updates, and contact information. Once again, visit Shakinab.com, promoting leadership and scholarship. All right, so let's go and get into it, man. We gotta talk about last night's game, really. The Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl. I know a lot of you watched it. I watched it. It was a great game. Shout out to the Chiefs for winning their second Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP. It was a great game. It was a back and forth game, man. The Eagles put up. I'm gonna tell you something right now. The Eagles, they coming, man. I believe they have everything in place to become Super Bowl champions. Next season, or it could be the season after next. Who knows? But there's no questions about the Eagles. But let's go and get into this game. My reaction to this game is this. I had a feeling, if you go back and listen to my last episode, I had this feeling that this was going to be a back and forth game. Excuse me, y'all, I got a little sore throat. This is going to be like a back and forth game. And I felt like it was going to be close. I felt like whoever had the last possession was going to end up winning the game. I was right. It was kind of hard for me to pick and choose, so I really wasn't rooting for anybody because it was hard for me to actually pick who I wanted to win this game. Because I'm a fan of both teams, even though I'm a Steelers fan. I'm still a fan of both teams and how they play football. From the Chiefs side, I gotta say this, man. That offense was. Well, I'm not going to start with the Chiefs. I'm just going to say when it comes to the offense and the defense for both sides. Both offenses were just operating like on a whole nother level, man. Patrick Mahomes, the way he was tearing that defense apart with his arm, and you have Jalen Hurts, who, not only with his arm, but with his legs. Just like Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, he pretty much picked and choose his spots when he wanted to run, And what was also shocking to me in this game was how the Chiefs were able to run the football. When I saw their first possession, I seen them how they were running that football. I was like, oh, this is going to be a long night for the Eagles defense, right? And it was, because I did not expect. I felt like the Chiefs was going to win. It was going to be because of the arm of Patrick Mahomes, which, it did. But that running game was on last night. And not only that, the offensive line for the Chiefs. I mean, I didn't have faith in the Chiefs offensive line. I will say that. But the fact they didn't give up any sacks against the best defensive line in football and the Eagles. It was only one sack between the two teams. Only one sack, and that really pretty much came. They counted it as a sack, but it wasn't a sack in the traditional sense. But I feel like the Chiefs, they're the unsung heroes for mean, not the offensive line for the Chiefs was an unsung hero in this game. But that game, you knew, even with the Eagles going up 10 points at halftime, you knew what was coming in the second half. And the fact that the Chiefs got some key stops. Let's point that out. They got some key stops. They gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. And Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, I'm sorry. I mean, this guy should be an NFL head coach. He should be. I feel like what they did in that second half was just absolutely amazing. When it came to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts was playing lights out football. So for anybody who has any doubts about Jalen Hurts, stop it. Just stop it. He is their quarterback. Philadelphia knows that. Philadelphia knows they have everything they need to compete for a Super Bowl, right? I think first off, when it comes to the division, they're number one, and there's no question about that. But when it comes to overall, man, listen, this team is a championship team, and I'm gonna say it right now. They are a championship team, and I feel like they will be back in the Super Bowl next season or the season after that. And we all, when it comes to any sports, right, the biggest factor is health. So we just have to wait till then. But I'm really saying this right now. I would love to see a rematch next season between these two teams. That's just my opinion. The Eagles defense, who had, I think this was 70 sacks of the season, didn't even get a sack on Patrick Mahomes. So that's why I said the offensive line for the Chiefs were the unsung heroes in this particular game. But, with any game, there's some controversy. So towards the end of the game, late in the fourth quarter, there was a holding call. There was a holding call on the Eagles defensive back, James Bradbury, on Juju Smith-Schuster, right? And it was a lot of controversy because a lot of people felt like the refs should have blown their whistle. Not blown the whistle. They should have, not thrown the flag in that moment, right? And this is why I said I think the Eagles are going to potentially win a Super Bowl very soon rather than later. Bradbury came out, pressed no after the game when they interviewed him and basically said, yes, I held him. He said that. And I like what the Eagles coach said after the game. He said, listen, that didn't cost us the game. Those other things that led up for us not to win the game. So that's why I felt like this team, and, a lot of times they were like, well, they cost us a champion. Well, this player cost us a championship. When you have a player that can own up to or take accountability, like, yeah, I held him. Man, listen, that right there shows that mentality that I think they're going to win the Super Bowl sooner than later. But it was a lot of people who were all on social media, on TV, who were talking about this one particular call because it was the biggest call, basically ended the game. It gave the Chiefs a new set of downs. They could run out the clock, kick a field goal with like 11 seconds left, stuff like that. So basically ended the game, okay? I just felt like if it's the right call, it's the right call. You can't pick and choose the moments where a call should be made. Now, let's just be honest. They kind of let a lot of stuff go. I could see in the frustration where they let a lot of this stuff go. It's the Super Bowl. They wasn't calling ticky-tack fouls. Some fouls were actually more blatant than others. It was some more blatant than others, but they pretty much let these boys play, well, these grown men play. And that particular call, you hated that it happened, but it happened. Bradbury, I'm gonna tell you right now, is a guy that you want on your team. He's a guy that you want on the team because he took accountability. And I felt like at that particular moment, that shows leadership. In a way, it shows leadership. And I felt like I said before, they're going to come back and do it again. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, I knew going in this wasn't going to be a defensive game. I already knew. These two offenses, man, that high power offense, man, they're going to get it done. And there was some spectacular throws, some spectacular runs. It had everything. The drama, you know, the great play designs by the Chiefs. Jalen Hurts, accurate with his throws, picking and choosing when he was running. They knew the sneak was coming. When they had that 4th and 5 and they were going for it, if y'all remember, they went for it on 4th and 5. I kind of knew they were going for it because they were kind of like in that no man, you know, that area where it's like, okay, we really can't kick a field goal, really can't punt it. So let's do what we can do. And they picked up the first down. They were picking up the first downs like with ease, right? And the Eagles controlled the game with the possession, right, for most of the game. The issue is that when you do that, you gotta really stop the Chiefs. And you know, there was also a blunder where, you know, Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball. You know, he tried to, you know, tuck in the ball, it slipped out of his hands, and the Chiefs recovered, ran it back for a touchdown. But you know, other than that, I mean, it was pretty much a perfect game from both quarterbacks. And I think this is what the NFL needs. They need like a rivalry type game, or just like two players that they can say, okay, this is going to be like our new rivalry. And I like to see Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts on the field. If I could watch it every Sunday, I'll watch it every Sunday. Including with my Steelers, but I would like to see these two players on the field, especially, you know, one in the NFC, one in the AFC. You had the two top teams in the league going at it back and forth. Patrick Mahomes, who won the MVP, the runner-up, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts played like he should have been deserving of an MVP. And I swear to you, you cannot get mad at Jalen Hurts. You couldn't get mad at this offense. The defenses, listen, it wasn't a defensive game. It really wasn't. But also the difference is that the Chiefs got key stops in this particular game, which allowed Patrick Mahomes to continue to build on. Like, it was pretty much a perfect second half. A perfect second half for the Chiefs. And you got to give credit where credit is due. So shout out to the Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl, man. His second Super Bowl in a couple of seasons. They're not going anywhere. I think I'm not going to call them a dynasty because, you know, you got to think about the Patriots, what they have done recently. But they're on that verge. If they win a third next season, you can now say, okay, this is a dynasty now. This is a dynasty. And I believe there's some teams that can beat the Chiefs, but you have to beat them. You know, I think the Eagles have shown the way that, you know, controlling the possession, time of possession is everything to beating these Chiefs, but you got to stop them too. You know, because we saw, man, they were playing that third quarter, the Chiefs. It was kind of like looking at the Golden State Warriors when they had, even was it before KD, during that run, right? Even in the NBA Finals last year, this past season, you saw that third quarter. You know it's coming, but you can't stop it. We saw what happened in that third quarter in the Super Bowl. Pretty much turned everything around, and uh, to me, that was a difference. That plus key stops for the Chiefs was a big difference. The call was the call, the holding call, but they didn't blame the refs for it. They didn't do it. They could have. I mean, they could say, "Hey, no, it wasn't the right call." Well, here's the thing. No, and this is I watched a lot of TV, sports TV. You know, anybody knows me, I'm really a huge ESPN fanatic, right? I watched the guys on there. Not one person said it was a bad call. It was just bad timing of the call. That's what the argument is, right? A foul is a foul, right? If it's a penalty, you got to throw the flag. Yes, it's the same old argument. You could throw flags every possession. There's holding every possession. We get it. Okay. We get it. But at that particular moment, it's kind of funny though, because if it was a team that you were really cheering for, you're not upset. If it's a team that, that happened to you, you'd be like, oh man, that was a bad call, man. Not at that moment. Yeah, it's a moment, but hey, look, are you gonna argue with the call? Because the first time he actually held him twice. I think that's what it was. The first time they was gonna let it go, but when he grabbed that second time, it's like, all right, you gotta throw the flag. I get it, it's a Super Bowl. People will go back to that call, but to me, you can't argue it wasn't the right call. So it is what it is. So I don't know how y'all feel about it. Speaking of Super Bowl, Rihanna performed halftime. I know a lot of people, it was actually more people who tuned in for the halftime show than the actual Super Bowl. I think it was like 118 million. And the Super Bowl had 113 million. So, you got a lot of people who don't watch football, just want to watch the performance. I never count y'all. Y'all don't count to me. Go sit somewhere else. But I watched the performance and everything like that. The performance was a good performance. Of course, everything everybody was talking about. Oh, is Rihanna pregnant and everything? Listen, let's stick to the performance. The performance was really good. I'm not gonna sit there and lie to you. It was a really good performance. Is it the best Super Bowl performance ever? No, it wasn't. I mean, you're gonna have people who really don't watch football, who never watched Super Bowl halftime shows, and they would say, "Oh, that's the best Super Bowl halftime performance ever." No, Rihanna had a really, to me, for what it was great, right? Especially with her now pregnant with her second child. You gotta give her props for that. I mean, she was able to do that, on the biggest stage, right? On the biggest stage, and to be able to perform all of her hits, right? So, shout out to Rihanna. Would I put that performance over Michael Jackson? No. Would I put that over a Prince? No. Beyonce's performance? No. Bruno Mars? No. Janet Jackson's? No. I'm not going to do that. But there's still other, I still would put it over a lot of other performances during the halftime show. So that's one of those things where, you got people who are just a fan of yours. They just want to be like overhype it. It really wasn't that deep. For me, did it really like get me out my seat? No. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, right? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the setup. It wasn't better than last year's, with Dr. Dre, Snoop and Eminem. 50 Cent was out there performing last year. So it wasn't better than that performance, but it was still a good performance. I think, when it comes to rankings, right? When it comes to ranking these Super Bowl performance, to me, if I had to choose who was the best, I gotta go with Prince's performance because I think it's raining on that stage. Like it was raining outside. It's raining. He's playing his. Yeah, I think he could have got electrocuted. That's what people don't know. He could have got electrocuted, or he could have, really did some damage because the stage very slick with the shoes he had on. It was gonna be really slick, but it was really slick. So it was really a dangerous performance. But man, when you sing Purple Rain and it's actually raining, and that's something you can't like, it's just like you couldn't plan for a better moment than that, right? That to me will always be number one. But if you want to say Michael Jackson's halftime performance, that was number one. Hey, 1A, 1B, you ain't gonna get an argument for me. But Rihanna's performance, man, if I have to rank it out of 10, man, I gotta give it like an 8 out of 10. Because you gotta factor in, the fact that she is pregnant and she's still able to go out there and perform, right? And she was moving very well too, right? And I think a lot of people were kind of like thinking, like, well, you're so used to seeing entertainers, right? The entertainers out there really giving a great show. Rihanna is not, she's not Beyonce in terms of, dancing and entertaining. She's not that, but that doesn't mean she can't give you a great show either. That's what Rihanna did. So shout out to Rihanna for that halftime show. I wasn't disappointed in that. Also, too, man, before the game, Cheryl Lee Ralph, amazing. Babyface, amazing. Chris Stapleton, amazing. So, I mean, it was great from start to finish. And it was like one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched. It almost kind of reminded me of, if y'all remember a few years ago, the Patriots and the Eagles. You had Tom Brady, and then you had Nick Foles for the Eagles. Of course, you had the Philly special. The Eagles won that game with the backup quarterback who became the Super Bowl MVP. So it was a great game. And like I said, I want to see these two teams again. Hopefully, they do what they're supposed to do during the regular season to get into the playoffs, take care of business in the playoffs, and let's see this rematch. I would definitely like to see this rematch. And another thing too, I mentioned Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. Um, I really hope he gets a head coaching job, and I think too when it comes to black coaches who really want their head coaching job. I think a lot of these franchises, like, we know we suck, but we're gonna go ahead and give them a job because we're not going anywhere. We're just buying time to have them help build it up, and then we'll put a coach that we really want in that position. I think Eric Bieniemy should definitely go to a team with is already has a good roster and continue to improve on that instead of going to a team where they're building from the ground up. If you're gonna be fair with giving African American head coaches, a chance to really thrive as coaches, put them in good situations. Don't give them a bad situation, and that reflects their record because we've seen a lot of coaches who continue to get head coaching jobs with losing records. I don't understand that. Like, they've proven to you that this is them with a good roster. With a good roster. I mean, it's really hard to be a head coach in the NFL. More so than being a manager of a Major League Baseball team, being a head coach in the NBA. It's really hard to be a head coach in the NFL. And a lot of guys are not good head coaches. And they still get head coaching jobs. So, when it comes to that Rooney Rule and everything like that, Oh, you have to interview minority candidates. Come on, man. We know what it really is like. We're just doing this to comply with the rule, but we're really not going to hire you. That to me is more like a slap in the face than anything else. Knowing this person has earned every right to, and I'm a type of person like, listen, if that person has earned the right, regardless of what their race is, if they have earned the right to be a head coach, give them that chance to be a head coach. But we all know they hiring these coaches that shouldn't be head coaches. Give other guys a chance to be a head coach that deserve it. See what I'm saying? And I just think that they need to really, if you're really serious about making your team better, get the best coach that's right for the job, not the one you like personally. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. All right. So GMs, owners, get it together. Definitely get it together. Before we get out of here, man, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been supporting the podcast. New episodes are available every Friday right here on YouTube, or you can catch it on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to follow Drinking After Dark Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And please, man, please subscribe to Drinking After Dark Podcast YouTube channel. Y'all be safe out there. Y'all make sure y'all drink responsibly. I got some reviews coming up, man, so y'all stay tuned for that. Until next time, I'm your boy Darius from Drinking After Dark Podcast, and we out. Peace.
Gotta get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.